This is Maury of Yeshoro. I have a question. What is counting the Omer? Do you know? Have you ever investigated it? Is it biblical? Are you commanded in this book to count the Omer to Shabuat, the Feast of Weeks, Pentecost? What is the Omer? Let's find out. What is an Omer and what is counting the Omer? Counting the Omer, in the Hebrew tongue, it would be Omer. Omer? Yeah. In other words, the sheaf reminds us of the agricultural aspect of the Passover and Shabuat. In ancient Yesharo, the first barley harvested was brought to the temple, presented in measures called omers. Measures? Yeah. Measures are ephahs. Who called them omers? The Gentiles. They were an offering of gratitude and thanksgiving. That is correct. A sheaf is a unit of measure that the ancient Israelites used for barley and other grains as well as other dry commodities. You see, they have this word omer is interchangeable with the word sheaf, and the omer is a measurement, and the sheaf is the grain that you wave before Yahuwah. In the Torah, it says that an omer is 1/10 of an ephah. Exodus 16:36. It is roughly 2 dry quarts. Okay, now we know what it is. Let me ask you some questions. Were you commanded to count 1/10 of an ephah? Were you commanded to count 2 dry quarts every day to the Feast of Weeks? Is it starting to sound ridiculous? Where did this come from? The Jews. The omer, the measurement, remember, that's what it means. It's a measurement. They want you to count a measurement. The omer replaces sheaf. What is the sheaf? What you give to the priest for him to wave on your behalf, the first fruits, when it first sprouts from the ground, connects Pasach to Shabuat, the biblical feast of Passover, to the Feast of Weeks, also known as the day of Pentecost, and its 7 Sabbaths. What are you counting? A measurement? A 1/10 of an ephah? Some grain? Or Sabbaths? This means you cannot count the omer, the sheaf, on the Gregorian calendar that the world keeps. Why would you count it on the Gregorian calendar? I thought we were to count an Omer. You know, a measurement or a sheaf. What you give to the priest? No, you are to count 7 Shabbats. Do you see the game? Where are the Jews' Shabbats? On Pope Gregory's calendar. Are they on the moon? No. The two do not work together. That's why they made up all of this stuff, telling you to count an Omer or count a sheaf, to cover up that you are to count 7 Shabbats, that they must be complete. They know that the moon is the sign of feast. The moon must be in the equation. Yeah. But they're not following the moon. They're following a solar calendar. So on that calendar, they just count 50 days. It won't even tell you when the feast days are. Of course not. You can't find any feast days through a sun calendar. You have to use Jehovah's, no, Yahuwah's calendar. The biblical lunar calendar. There's only one sign in the whole book. It's called Hadash. You'll never find another. Come on. Come with us. Truth is on our side. All of your lies is on the outside. Every teacher out there are teaching you to be near an equinox, following these same people. Look what happened last year. I showed everyone this. Easter was Sunday, March 31st, 2024. Passover was April 22nd, 2024. See, their game is falling apart. They're not even lined up anymore. Easter is considered Resurrection Sunday. Passover is when he went to the grave. So he arose from the grave on March 31st before he went to the grave on April 22nd. All of your enemies will be found liars. Now let's see what he who is seated upon the throne has to say. Wayakara, you would say Leviticus chapter 23, 15 to 16. 15. And you shall count. Hold it. Who's speaking? He who is seated upon the throne. And his name is Yahuwah. Will you listen to him or to them? And you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. Now we know when the Sabbath is, and we know when the day after the Sabbath is. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. What are you counting? A measurement? Were you commanded to count a tenth of an ephah? And the Hebrew word is ayapa. Ayapa. It's a measurement. You're commanded to count Sabbaths. Do you see their witchcraft? They covered up the Sabbaths with grain, with the harvest. They also used this to adjust the calendar. How did he do that? They say the barley harvest is not ripe, so we have to add an additional month. And everyone fell for that. How do you add an additional month? Can you change the rotations of the sun, the moon, and the stars in the heavens? It was just a fictitious adjustment. It's delusional. But yet, everyone believes in this. Look up top. Here's the Jews' feast for this year, 2025. When does it start? Saturday evening, April 12th, to Sunday evening, April 20th. How does the day work? From the evening of Saturday the 12th to the evening of Sunday the 13th is the first day. So their feast started on Sunday. When is their Sabbath? On Saturday. Their Saturday Sabbath starts Friday evening to Saturday evening. Their feast started Saturday evening to Sunday evening, which means the end of their feast will be on Sunday. How many days would that be? 8 days. When would they bring a sheaf? Which they don't. We're just being, adding it in. When would they bring their sheaf to the priest? On Monday. So you see their calendar's off because it doesn't line up. The moon does not line up with Pope Gregory's calendar. So they have you focused on a measurement, a sheaf, and a harvest while they're doing their magic over here. See, they got you looking at one hand while they're using witchcraft on the other hand. You didn't even know they were doing this. Here, let me give you another count. They start from the dark moon. If they started from Hadash, their feast would start on Monday, end on Monday, and then the day that they would bring the sheaf to the priest would be on Tuesday. It does not line up at all. Just like their Resurrection Sunday and their Passover didn't line up last year. It never lines up. I go through this every single year to show our people this delusion. 16. Indeed, unto the morrow after the seventh Sabbath, that's what you're counting. Don't ever say that you're counting an Omer. Don't ever say that you're counting a sheaf. None of those things. It is Gentilian. Indeed, unto the morrow after the seventh Shabbat shall you number 50 days. It's speaking of the last week. Yeah. 6 working days. Then the 7th day was the Shabbat. Then you are to add an additional day. Look, 8 days. If you add them all together, 7 Shabbats, 7 weeks, 50 days. And you shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahuwah. 17. You shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yahuwah. Here. This is the first time you use your measurement. You counted 7 Shabbats. You added a day. Then you are to bring 2 ephahs, 2 ayapa. That's the original name, ayapa. You are to bring 2 loaves of bread, measuring 2 ayapas, 2/10 deals. They are to be a fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven, and they are the first fruits unto Yahuwah. This is the only time that you are to measure anything. They've deceived everyone. You know, the problem is that our people cannot read, nor do they understand law or biblical law. There's law, statutes, judgments, commandments, ordinances. All of them are there to define exactly how the Father wants you to carry out any specific command. But we've been made lawless, living with a lawless people. To regain this knowledge, you can't be a rebel. As you learn, you apply. 18. And you shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yahuwah, with their meat offering, and their drink offerings. Indeed, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuwah. Why are we bringing him all these things? He gave you the harvest. He gave you the food to feed your lambs and your bullocks to make them healthy. He gave you the land. You are to celebrate him and give thanks. 19. Then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offerings. Note, every feast, there's an atonement made for you so that you can approach. The only thing you have to do is be on time with him and not with them. 20. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahuwah with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy to Yahuwah for the priest, for the Kahan. See, the Kahan gets paid today. Everyone gets abundance. 21. And you shall proclaim the selfsame day. Note, you have to be on the right day. You can't just be on any day, make up things, and expect he's going to accept your offering. He will not. And you shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be an holy convocation unto you, a gathering. You shall do no servile work therein. You can't go to work on that day. But at home, you can bake, you can boil, you can kindle a fire, everything you need to do to prepare for your feast. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings, throughout your generations, forever. How long is forever? Till heaven and earth pass away. Brother Dawood, I have a question. Yes. We're not in the land. We don't have a harvest. We don't have the priest of Aharon to bring a sheaf to. Why would we celebrate this? Something spectacular happened on this selfsame day. The Ruah, the Holy Spirit, was poured out on the day of Pentecost, which means 50, which is the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot. The Holy Spirit was poured out on that day. That's why we keep it. 22. And when you reap the harvest of your land, now this can only happen once you are in the land. You shall not make clean riddance of the corners of your field when you reap, neither shall you gather any gleaning of your harvest. You shall leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yahuwah, your Allah Yakam. He signed his name in the end. This is serious. At this time, when we come back in the land and we receive a harvest, everyone will have abundance. No one will be left out. The widow, the fatherless, the poor, and the stranger will all have abundance. This is the way of Yahuwah. Hold it 1 second. There's a people in the land today. They've claimed that they've received a harvest. When they reap their harvest, do they leave the gleanings? Do they cut down the corners of the field and take them also for their harvest? What if the widow, the fatherless, the poor, or the stranger comes into their field to glean? What do you think would happen? The law reveals sin. You can see exactly who a person is by the way they keep the law. Brother Kuya's calendar. Thank you, Brother Kuya. Brother Kuya overlays the lunar event on top of this quasi-solar calendar created by the Gentiles in order for you to find Yah's days in this matrix that they have created for us. Identify day number 23 in red. Got it. Let's see what Brother Kuya put in the box. It's the third Sabbath day and the 8th day. The 8th day? Yeah, the 8th day of the feast. This is the Sabbath that the Father was speaking of. It comes directly after the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You go directly into your regular weekly Shabbat. See, 23 is Pope Gregory's calendar, and 22 in black is the lunar calendar. Yah's days. Okay, we are commanded to bring a sheaf, once we come into the land, to the priest on the day after the Shabbat. Go to the next day. It's 24 in red. Look what's in the box. SOO. What does that mean? Go to the left. You'll see all of the abbreviations. Look on the bottom. SOO equals sheaf of offerings. Come back to day 24 in red. Now we can read it. The sheaf of offerings, and start 7th Sabbath day count. All right, so this is the first working day. 6 working days, you come to your next Sabbath, which is on 30 in red and 29 in black. There's only one Shabbat left for this month. Next month, we'll count more Shabbats. Brother Xavier will do the explanation. And the month after that, we'll count 2 more Shabbats. Brother Mayakaol will do the explanation. Shalom.